Oh, that. Good morning, everyone. Hi, that on the train is something sunny magazine. Ani go to rest, right? Ani young so jeva kawachungs in it and kashi only na. So that is a young cool to rest, right?
Yeah. So again, our Sunday program begins. It's good to meet you all again. I just want to check that the people listening online can hear well.
What's that? Kawadi.
Switch off.
That 다른 건조 사 니마진데 만찬다 로종 시기로 로종 시기가 시샤마 도샤체 도야 인스로.
So the majority of the Sunday classes will be working with thought or mind transformation and dependence on these 8 verses of transforming the mind.
가르스나다 디 야고여로 책 배저 책 용용체로 네 디나라 만차다 말한서 뒤중에 초에 나로 직삼로단단단 아니 직 니마니마게 항저 상마게 직 가르서래 강이 연대 강에 차트파세 당 수수심 직 삼바상 삼바 지우치스다 삼바 시와 삼바 툭대어로 시와서야다 다딘데기 탑람 약쇼디 다 말한저 로종기나라 다시다 벽은 외춘 지난저 로종 세야디나네 망고 냠네 지에 요레스로.
So the the verses are very pithy, kind of very condensed, and it is good in the context of our lives, the way we think day to day. Because difficulties come up for us, we want to remove them. Subsequently, we want to make our minds pacified, peaceful, and we want to remove these kind of mistaken awarenesses we have, these incorrect perceptions. So those of you who are familiar with Tibetan Buddhism, in the context of Buddha Dharma, this is mind training technique.
다 개시슈디 말한서 다 메제나라야 아니 삼바 지우지간에다 대구 요래서 정말로 주부다 대보다 야보지 그거 요래서 와다 이나야 디 갈래가서잖아 디 용로지기요 말해서.
Yeah. So what's most important in the context of our lives is that we all want happiness, mental well-being, but it seems to be the case that however much effort we put in, we don't reach that goal.
다된다 디나네 닝부토로 디 로존치 얘기 아니 탈란 개주직디 아니 삼바상 sounds okay. 삼바상 무치야 들어 다 이게 직 인지직라 we can't say that 들어 이놈아 비카지 저 디제디랑서 로르시나야 고여러 비싱아 tukchenjo 되는 말.
So the essence of this teachings we're going through is a method, and it's important for one's mind, because one is trying to develop kind-heartedness. And I will give you some things to memorize that are all these kind of slogans like be kind and so forth. There are about 4 or 5 B's.
The other sick the Reda Manchang do some that dinner lord be kind chair. Any dinner becomes the rather.
Be calm.
Basangwache Pendachevala, so the same the Mashiwa Gorwa become Chagda.
Yeah.
And it's that chick, Sambasang which then Twena Gangyam which tell you, the last Donglen, so Gungwera, and be patient, good order.
Yeah. So these are very practical. If one is intending to be a kind-hearted person, then to benefit others, you have to have a peaceful, subdued mind, so therefore be calm. And in order for the mind to be calm, it has to be a forbearing mind. You have to be patient.
That dine any similar Donglen Chuga Mangwaji, the Wachiba Angway,
Yeah.
Chokshi said, be content said, the Gugdo.
And also, in order to practice patience or forbearance, one has to be able to take on difficulties or bear them. And this means being content with what one has.
And they la share with Tony, Shimbenchia, that on the Nedam Wachi, share a page over.
Yeah. But in that light also, we want to help others, and yet we want to do it in a wise way, with discriminating intelligence.
Other than the Tamanchang, the Dunda, the Tanologian CJ, Georgia, Manja didn't do.
So the coming Sundays, all of these things that have just been mentioned are subsumed in these 8 verses of thought transformation.
Logion CJ, the Maramizanale, Pendochimbo, Shushung, that's from just songs as in that studio, there is Chikangi or similarly. Also, me, Mizana, Yungura, Diamond Yungura, Yondu, Nico, Dima, Simnama, Jordan, Nico, Simba, Chikangi, Simgikangi, the Chiruma, and Lependo Chimbuara, Payment Chimbuas.
In the context of my life, these 8 verses have been really useful. It is the case in our lives we face difficulties and difficult situations. So any time that I've been sad or a little bit down, these verses have helped, so that that feeling of being down and out doesn't increase.
I think that to run you said you look at it, Sig Yung Che, and the Pendo Chimbuche,
Particularly in this day and age, 21st century, something that's pithy, easy to understand, but greatly beneficial. Short.
That indeed, down the Gulon, Gomjig Yara,
Yeah.
down on that Chow Paget, and I'm shipping you.
So let's first start with setting the correct intention. A meditation on motivation. Last night it rained, so the weather's good for sitting practice.
Oh yeah, that Gulon that Nima Tirine Chevajig and Arangeti Corso, Mesidina, Samba Samboji Tone, Nishenlaya, Suzu Ludang, that's all Lungagi, Chawadra, Nisim, the Yegi, Jigmila, Paint of Wajik, and Chito Chigin is the Kachiju, Odundejik, Nimatrine Chije. Lunga Chawa Kancheva, the Shenla Pendoyavaji, Chitovachi, Sambe. Teach doing at the Nambeg, Dalojong, Sictus, Jangi, some Shimbenji, Sim, Simbe, the Guno Yawaji, Jeshu Asra.
Our intention is that from today, for the rest of one's life, one is doing one's best to cultivate a good heart, a warm-hearted approach, particularly with the actions of your body and speech, and then thinking one will benefit others in that regard. So today, the actions of my body and speech, in terms of studying these meditations on the 8 thought transformation, solely benefit other.
Kunong gomja de mixum na ya where send the new death chair you research.
Now, when you're doing the setting the correct intention, it's good to gently close the eyes because then the mind has more potency.
Other channels go on the water around Miludin the Dutchly and the Dinlaya, Dachi Milaya Pendochia, and the Samotayaki, Miludin, cook up you there were the Neji Chuma, the Gawasango, cook up Yabuji, Sambegone, Nene, Gaogong, or Gaogoms.
We should spend a few moments rejoicing that we have gained a human support, a human basis. With that human body, we can benefit others. We have a way to think things through. This opportunity is very fortunate. Rejoice in that.
Oh, yeah, down the Ujung, getting the raw Ujung. Tango ji subu chazan na usu noguni ne tenro dene be de gangbati so ma ro samda nya ji subu ji da subu na udo padron chule chhe ga subu sama be ma ji lhelo ro ji ni ji tanda su khashe subu ya damde ro jo ro odu zo pa ji shingje ji ji lhelo shi shi ro cha ba de sam tang jo ro.
Now, some time on breathing exercise, breathing meditation. When you breathe in through the nostrils, visualize that from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, your body becomes relaxed, and any part of your body that was formerly tense is released from that, liberated.
예, 다들 양조 우중 곰 장가잖으로 와. 다 베징이 두다리 저런도 많자. 돈용용도 레샤다가 제 가시 미시로 네. 디다 양 콘주단다 타제간에 년이도 저런도 곰 망부제고요 와. 네, 우중 장가데 당고 uk수당 파던 10회 전에 장가 숨잡 양 참지이셔. 양 직내 양아사고잡 양 참지이셔. 대 틀르대. 양 직내 눈사고 직잡 양 대틀르셔. 아니 직내 주사고 직잡 틀르셔. 이테네 직내 뉴사직사고 직잡. 모든 데시 우중 장가 공잡시 어스로. 다딜 믹다나야고 요래 믹다 믹나즈르 마파가 lu 대단도 돼. 데스 캐션 뭐
정보치.
계속 정보도 돼. 캐션 뭐셔.
Now, for this exercise of counting the cycles of breath, it's good if we have our posture upright and gently open your eyes, focus the eyes on the bridge of the nose. Here, we're going to count the cycles of inhalation and exhalation. So breathing in and breathing out is one round. And looking at you, I've met most of you, so you're probably familiar with this. And those listening online may have meditated a lot. So breathing in and breathing out is one cycle. First, just be aware, now I'm breathing in, now I'm breathing out. And you do that 3 times. And take a short break. And then increase it up to 5 cycles of inhalation, exhalation. Then relax again, observe. Then move up to 7 cycles. Then from 1 to 10 cycles. Then from 1 to 21 cycles of breath. And just relax and observe.
haya ta de ne zo su lula ta da de gyung zo lu chama nya sha se ra de zo su lu den la lu de mi lu den ba de she ba de ke chmo shore da zo ta da zo sam gom ja nya sam mi ra mi lu den ji yo ra nga mi lu den de ji top de ba de pe ya go yin se wa 아니 오늘에 가서 그래 아니 이게 메지 루덴데 나라 저런저 메지 가시 미가제니 스제 대외 메지 나라 밀라 편도체 내가 야고든지 제라 저절 가고 마음보이네 단다이네 수수 지에 망고 열었다 수수 그가 망고 열어로 밀라 편도체에 당 아니 즉 둔도 심지를 편도체에 당 구육심 요 편도체에 레드는데 신변이 신라 뭐단 유에 편도체에 루딘 그거 필요지 여기다 된거도 미 루딘데 자침보 남배주네나 시라 자침보 되고래 미 루딘데 하장게 자침보 쉬우지 이제네 개침보 쉬우지 되게 여러 이 신고야데 개침보 쉬어도 인상 저런저디 수술라 밀루된지 요아데 요아 시바시야디 니디안베 탄다 망보치 듬니지 임바디 시바치야 근데내직 수술로 요아데 가오고면 요 언니 내게 수술을마 따제 무슨 바체제 가오공기 니어도 탄다 요아지 지긴 있으면 대변내진나라이나 지유총성 다 셈디 계절로 담을 셰데도 콜레가 구이제로 레가 구이제 지 드링네체 먼저 단기 꿀론제로 신의 편도 지긴 라로 뭐단 주베 예 신의 편도 집에 시제는 예 메지디 메지 단달 하마데 메질 하마데 대버 차로 유시로 같이 야구친 얘기를 같이 도자친 얘기를 차차를 뭔가 가져 되게 와디 뭐네지 편도에 버지 간에 메지 밀레 편도에 버지 간에 메지 게도 지긴상 딘데 누버지 두상 가와 공기 네 상로 디 루트만이샤 따게 상로데 땅 거에 개침머리 도스러
Here now we begin to observe our bodies with awareness. This is often called close placement of mindfulness on the body and recognizing that the body we have is human. Well, all of us meditating here are humans, aren't we? And we should recognize such a basis as excellent. To have acquired such a human basis is good. And when you think in that regard, in the context of your life, some of you in the past will have benefited others, helped them. You should rejoice in that. And with the rest of your life that's yet to come, the opportunity to benefit others, be they humans and or animals, and the environment is great. Here one can benefit others directly and indirectly with this attitude of altruism. So in that context, recognizing how precious is the human body, particularly in the context when we talk about Buddha Dharma, to be born human is precious and important. But that's not enough. You have to recognize what is precious as being precious, fortunate. Therefore you make it meaningful. And time to time when you recall the body, just reflect on that. Now, you might have a lot of thoughts going on. The mind might be talking a lot. Just leave that aside. Because remember, this morning we motivated to benefit others directly and indirectly. And in the context of this life, the past is already gone. So whether we've done good or bad, that's gone now. But what's yet to come, that we can do. So if we think about our life to come and how we can benefit others, our mind has tremendous potency and close placement of mindfulness on body is recognizing that meaning and importance of being human.
어디 곰질라 제곰소 제곰 가셔야 디곰 아이 팅이라.
Oh, some might think, well, is that meditation? Yes, it is. It is a type of analytical meditation.
아도 스스로 류라다 아니 류그란신라다. 도 상당히 네 오늘에 먼저 류디 미류된시야디 초야라 망부질라 때네 초고도 다디 시고래로 세상 아니 교어드베란시 류디 교어드베란시 임바시 류디 망부질라 때네 초디게요 대신고래로 와서서 능밀라 때네 초대요래 초고초물라 때네 초대요래 니 됐지 왕저 잘라 비주 지야 망고 쉬우지 링든 제가 신다 소지 킹고로 예 배낭에디 조즈데가나다 제가 담만다 그 잘라요래로 자 만다요 제가 가네인 잘라 가시 변해요래로 가시 네벌리네 요래도 자가네 요래니 네데 자나네 요래로 뉴질랜드 네 요래다 오스트레일리아 네 요래다 망보 요래잖아 네 제주 내기 잘라 배주 지야나 제급 담만데 도와로 제주 미 담만데 내가 지기 요로 그 콘조기 깔레접 템바는 아주 배주 지기 요로 아주 튼들을 되는 차시는 쇼베야 저란서 자동들이 이 트러스 간에 바다 쪽으로 바다 마 쪽으로 마데 간에 쪽으로 파죽 든 쪽으로 그래서 오마 동그레 코페 소녀도 사지 사무직 단다 미망고 가든 되는 거죠 대화요 대화로 아주 류된데 쳐야라 미다 튼도다 아니지 타나 무슨 부토마로 간도 되어요라 잠블링데 부토매면 아니 잠블링 대두마를 लग다라 엔즈메나 잠블링 대두마를 लग다 진짜 부토마 요데 간서 그래 간제 부토마 두페가 배 부토마게 나라 요네 강이 되기도 부메자 세야 돼 상당히 뭐 부토마 된데 간서 소대요라 그래서 신고로 하러 지신 나한테 거기서 부터마는 띵에 나인 튕기지래. 저랑 띵에 나한테 부터마게 나인 튕기지래. 제가 그래서 상무 못 다녀도 하고도 어두 검자 상무 다녀 딜 제검소.
Thinking in this context that our meditation is analytical, we are reflecting. Firstly, we are reflecting on body's entity, what's its nature. Here, what goes to sustain a human body? A lot. Causes and conditions. But then also, secondly, its nature is disintegration. It is changing moment by moment. But if we just look at the first point of sustaining the body, family, friends, people, all of those groups go into sustaining this body. And then the things we use, things that come from other countries. My table, for example, would have come from another place. Things that I use that come from Tibet, Nepal, India, China, New Zealand, Australia. All the things I use that have come from other countries. Moreover, the humans that put effort into make those things. And then for us to be able to sustain ourselves, animals, like when you wake up in the morning and you drink, or you take some product, butter, whatever, it has to come from cows. Coffee, you drink, comes from the kindness of others growing the crops and so forth. So through that connect with others, the ability to sustain our bodies by interacting with humans, animals, even insects. It is said that we can't survive without insects. Like ants. So when they come inside, instead of getting all kind of worried and killing them with some substance, it is good to think they're part of me, they're part of my sustenance, they're like my relatives. It's good to think this way.
Maybe ants thinking, oh, this is my house. You thinking, this is my house. Ants thinking, go away, this is my house. You don't know. We are in democracy, Mangzo,
Oh yeah, we are in a democracy.
democracy. And then voting, we are lost. Ants is more number, You voting who's live in the house, ants win. Millions ants there, We need to go out. Really, you don't believe democracy. 아사지. 근데로 저자. 이인데 단다 로전 세계에 직당보대. 단 심지 담지 이신을 전조도 선배이 초드지고 정말 쇼세르데 랍스로 초드지고 정말 랍으로 로전정 당서 장거라. 저단 세계 당보대. 나 심지 담지 가진 친구이 마상당데 어두스다 상무데 수술 르라 마상당제 대단 저와그제 메디 상당나 근데 초와질리그라와 초와질리용으로 바로발라 싱그 초와실리그라 먼저 당무 밀라 초와레고라 안테네 튠둘라 초와레고라 근데 초와질리용데 너네다 직 가르스토레 파 먼저 직 저와 쉬우지 여된 여지 말어 저와 쉬우지 여된 여지 직 미시지기 그 산선을 삼단데 지 메시지 단위로 매바 가바 단위로 매나 조보로 님도 참전도 해면은 나 찍고 이 챙기도 네 된 거예요 뭐라 원해시는 저와 쉬지도 알아 류디 자포부 간도는 저와 쉬지리고 신도지 사회는 미담이 저와 쉬지리대 근데 수수 류디라 저와 미단 튼도든 장가태하면 저와 여러 아니 가르치니 가지고 임서 처게 오래라 소원조감이도
Yeah. So then, in that context, the first of these 8 verses of thought transformation, mind training, with determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I shall constantly hold them supremely dear. So here, train in holding others as important, as dear. You are thinking on sentient beings' kindness to you from the way that you interact with them in terms of one's very body and sustenance. And if one can do this, one starts to get a feeling for other. Whether it be humans or animals, we are certainly connected. And that should give one a feeling. One should never have the feeling like I'm alone, no one calls me, no one texts me, no one messages me, I've got no one to go out with. One should never think like that. Even one cup of tea you drink is dependent on others. Even one piece of fruit you eat is dependent on others. And just to sustain your body, how many humans and animals went into that? Uncountable.
Also, you're making upset, nosy, lots of machines, dog barking. Don't do complaint, okay? Appreciate. You never dog barking. Some people calling city council. Don't do that. This is silly. Too silly. What? The dog need bark, it's natural, it's hungry or thirsty or sick, we don't know, barking reason. 근데 지금도 자대 깨지는 시티 건설. 아니 티 깨지는 시티 건설 가다. 또 딜레 지게요 버려. 데다 가가.
Sometimes it's the case that if we hear one noise we get upset and we're on the phone. What's the benefit of that?
제가 아니 그 비조디 깨져야 돼 줌진지여로 하고 둔도도 잘로 그 찍잖아 그 죽어도 그요래 찍잖아 그 나기요래 찍잖아 그 켜기요래 찍잖아 카군고요래 와 근데 그 강예지 연에 깨지고 이거로 아닌자 근데 제가 근데 직세야 답시잖아 그 개면도 안 내지나 먼저 데스디 핀주 되어요디 당 아니 가디엔데 테나 아니 지 가서 그래 데스 밀이야 삼로다야 신라 강에 마서야로 신라 강에 마서야 돼 삼단과 계좀 쉬어라도
There's a reason that animals kind of cry out, isn't it? Make noise. Could be hungry, sick, cold, even thirsty. They're crying out or making noise because they're dissatisfied, suffering. And then, thought to remove that suffering in the sense that we are interdependent mutually on them, then it makes some kind of connection. So thinking of removing those sufferings of those beings in terms of the kindness.
No, the ni 먼저 semba 로 당먼저 지 semba 상보 로 semba 상보 지에 최고야 semba 야고 셈 야고 최고 레라고 요마로 봐 제산다 단다데 로존스기에는 심 상보 지단데 러브도 먼저 간데 심 상보 최고라 이슬람 상데 당고 미신지 거딘 텐스로 봐 거딘 미신 수수 미신다 더요 with the tense this 미신도 수수를 펜더요 with the tense 한 디네 먼저 가되이나 말 하가로 말 야가이 신다 남에다 이제 상당요 말이야 이 신기 가린데 태운데 미신데 야가당 미신데 연된다야다 미신데 체주줘야다 아니 딘데게 상당고래서 어디 랍제든데 제부도로
As it says in this verse, we have to train in altruism because a mind that is kind-hearted automatically is not easy. It's not easy to do. One has to train in it. How does one do that? By recalling how others are kind to oneself and in that light how they've benefited you. Normally or often our attitude is so I-oriented. I'm supreme in the family. I'm the most important. However, if you change that and start to reflect on others' good qualities, how they have good qualities naturally, that's the advice for the initial training.
제상당 저 당보 다리 둔다 되려와 아니 미신 신당 수수 미신의 둔두래 너저당 수수 저와 가제 유명의 시에고 따라와 아니 하고도 좀 미 만한저 류된데 그거 야고이 말와 디 추수 단지요마 더 털라 단지요마 디미 텐조 니에가서 남배 중내에는 미 류된데 하장 니에가고 자천보 른단천보 시우지 지게요 그래서 봐 텐데리 난천보지 안절라고 예대버디 하고 쳐 그래서 봐 하고 쳐 메지디 때 메제 하마디나라다지 펜도예요 메제 편단데 뭐라 메제 편단데 봐 메제디 미닝이요지 지야 되다 치고래 다 컨데스 치고래 써야 돼 수수수수 삼다레스로
This week it is good to reflect on how much we connect and are dependent on others, humans and animals. In that light, from the context of Buddha Dharma, being human is very rare. It is of great value. It's priceless. So one should not waste that priceless opportunity. And to recognize that it's in your hand. And then to make, within that context, don't waste the time. Don't waste the human opportunity and make life meaningful. This one should reflect. Yeah, let's meditate again.
저런저 말 밀르된 데지 톱샤스 네 밀르된 야고 쉽지 톱샤스로 와 근데 문에라다 밀르된데 하고도다 저런저 데스 오멘 만으로 제데 디 도난치가 여러 가르치기도 서로 남바도 가르치기도 오멘 만 제베디 빼야고로 와 닌 당보딘데 오멘 만도 여와디 하고 야고 쉬어지래 아니 디네다 직수수 류된데 토바디 나라다 메지디 나라야 다지 예 류된 토바디 전단된 바지 컨데스고도 서로 말랑 따주이다 메지 탄단 데 마사데 간대지레도서 티삼 땅고도
Yeah. So now we should meditate that we have gotten this perfect human rebirth and we don't want to waste it. It is wonderful. It is good that you're open-minded. You're probably thinking, I wonder what the Buddhists say. So that kind of open-minded approach is very good. And then secondly, in the context of this life, that we are human. And then how to make that meaningful. One should reflect, how is it? How to do it?
아예다 수수 메지 탄단 데 마사데 지단 담만다 수수 따단 담만다 예로와 또 릭지기 아니 야로종로 체 로알로종로 체 레가제 라자스 베샤로 데스 베샤 몽고로 오즈라나 아니 강바자로 강바 직접 아니 녀서 홀리데이 강바 직접 니점 아니 투징 베샤 몽고는 투징에 아니 할로kopter뉴 모더지부든데뉴 아니 찬스 부모 부모 찬스 잡으러 아니 반나 직 청금도 나는 야데 파샤 야신다 직대 라 아니 딘데세 강바 몽보시죠 뭐라 몽보뉴 투징 가시뉴 아니 찬스 딩마 싱아시죠 자데말 데마주 타마드마주 디야고문도 어두체 아니 뭐 찬스자 부구지로 따디 미제 톤다르 가제 디지그라다
Now, in terms of how to make the perfect human life meaningful in the context of this life, that depends on the way you see, the way you view. How is it? For some people, they study a little bit, then they get a job, make money, buy a house, maybe secondly, holiday house, then a boat, then a helicopter, and sometimes a car, and then they have a marriage partner, 1 or 2 kids, they marry, and that's it for some.
디미제 톤다르
Is that the meaning of being human?
디디다 먼저 툰르드제 지기다
Well, in a sense, animals can do like that.
강관이 자기도 먼저 부근이 지기도라
They make a house, they procreate, it's animals.
아니 부구도 소중한 야고 지기도 아니면
And they really take care of their young.
가지
They sustain their young.
아니 제가 아주 미세하게 가시에게다 점블링을 깨다샤로 페머스라고 하잖아 페머스잖아 메지텐데 내가 인테그라
So some think, in the context of this world, if only I were famous, my human life would be meaningful.
다 미수스 다다는 나이나 다다한테 말했으라.
So everyone has their own view. That's not quite my view.
나 미지 전한테 버사디 배샤마고 말해. 배샤마고 말해.
For me, meaningful life doesn't mean good bank balance.
밀레야 수수 편도 가지치도록 와 수수 누벌 박에 펜토가 가지 펜도도 지도비나 미래 둔로레 고유레 된데가 가져야지 펜토가 지도이나 데 메제 하와르도 수수 메제나라야 수수를 가딘 수 야부친이도 zor라야 아니 개치주 파야고 치고야 돼 개좀보래로 개좀 쉬어로 와 아니 강의 유니들라 수수 다 누바이나 로고체 아니 강의 유니들나 누워면은 아니 심대 제요 말다 될로
So I think to try and be of benefit to others, to my ability, to my potency, in the context of this life, particularly those that have helped you, and then think on their kindness and repay that, as best as we can, humans, animals, environment. And then, if others are going through sufferings, do one's best to help to alleviate that suffering. And if you cannot alleviate the suffering, there's no point in worrying, not at all.
제가 메지 탄다 데마세야디 낭베 슈네시나 겨워 치마라 펜베 탄다 이신우빌레라고 세기도 튼조 접에 삼바세기도 제가 낭바지 응네 시샤베이나 네 타와도 탐지 신베 산제 고마도야 당 타바도야기 아니 람기 탑람지 디도라야기 아니 자와치도나 디메지 탄다 데바 디지고다
So in the context of thinking of a meaningful life, making it meaningful not just in the context of this life, but future lives, as the first verse read of our texts. More precious than a wish-granting jewel is the human opportunity. In that sense, from the perspective of Buddha Dharma, this vessel of being human can achieve the goal of liberation and final awakening of Buddhahood. So, welcome now.
다 전환도 가시에 디나라 출루 낭바 제로와 낭바면서 출루 신다이네 이슈다 가지다 이슈데 수심으로도 이슈 가지 힌두 가리나 출루디 수수 출루 앉아 되나 지기요래로 다 로종 냠내도서 로종체 장 계지주 수수 셈바 경기 차 조봉연 바데 파 매버스 셈바 상고직 수소가 들어왔다 당보데 네 낭베 체마지사야 돼야 고 라마레로 딜레야 디오마레 거서레 부자게다 정한다한테 개야 말 수수수라레 콜레 차진요레 차진 레라오야 말 낭베체 레라오야 말로 콜 데스 차진 가시 참고레 네 낭바지 응원에 다단데 메주탄데 뭐 카레스 디시나야 고레로 먼저 낭바지 응원에 마다이나 타바튼데 타바튼데 이제 타바토베 체드 아니 지수 룡하게 자와치야 돼. 델레를 하고 주나? 안 다도 산제지 심지 탐제 턴도야지 산제 고마도야 제도 안 델레야 지 조사 디장치야 돼. 미유베 첨보래 미유자 첨보래로. 먼저 단데디 메시지 나라지 야보지 요나 베셔데 강바지 요나 데다 개개 말아 데다 개 말아 고.
In that context of making life meaningful, some of you here will have entered the Buddhist path, and yet some might be of other persuasions, Christian, Islam, Hindu, whatever. That's fine. The most important thing is that one kind of studies the mind training and with that in mind tries to reduce faulty states of mind and then manifest and increase positive states of mind. And, the point is, you might, being Buddhist actually is not easy. It's not easy in the true sense of the word. You have to have the causes and conditions there. And really, if we talk about being a Buddhist in definition, you are striving for the goal of liberation with your body and speech. In that light, being a Buddhist means accumulating a lot of merit on the one hand and purifying non-virtues on the other. This is a very vast view, very long-term view. It is not just about having a house and car and so forth in this life, not at all. Completely different.
Yeah,
so really it's good if we study and we understand reality. What's the case of things?
Antundajic said, Daojic said, Logic said, Loju said, and Mezic Gang said to you, Mezimangbo Gang said to sometimes. And the neck when a Tarvala, the huge horse is sometimes. Some of them, and Betty made some of the judgment worship the child.
Okay, so in terms of this, when you approach reality and study its nature, then, in the context of this life, one wants to remove difficulties. Can you do it or not? Can you remove difficulties for 1 day, 2 days, a week, a month, 1 year, 2 years, increasing it in the context of one's life, this life? Then one comes to see the liberated state is possible. It's a vast view, but we take that approach.
Nimage, Siksamudanda, Kanayada, Juatomandu said, keep my gypsy, keep my gypsy, Ya Maya said, and it's Zema said, Ning Jimaji said, similar knowledge, similar, some Dandana, Red Dog, Jimzi, some Dandana, Red Dog.
So, as we progress day by day, we reflect. Has anything undergone change or not? And we measure that change by whether we're happy or not, or how much affection, compassion we have for others or not increase.
어디인도 딱 해치슈디 안도 매제 터나지고 semba상보지 고주야데 너무 굴러내려 예 semba상보지 터네 아니 밀레 펜도 치고 치기로 예 매제 담아디 저는도 망보지라 그거 망보 쉬어요 저는 같이 로병하고 요래 같이 지도는 되어요래 같이 수수 남미단데야 되어야고 요래 딱 봐주 지도다 되어요니도 하고도 개치슈디 수수 파마 빈자 도부토모 되돌아 아니 되어체제 뭐네게 샘기 강에 가려워디 시고데 개주물에도 마시나 아니 강에데 세투면도 아니 이마지 미드유 지 튼제 정보지 니지게 라시 접도도로 근데 망보도 하다 다른 남배 망보 통스다 하고 달로 달리는데 빼망고 먼저 뭐신 받는데 망고 통소 세상에 메지디 전다 밀르된데 전단된 바다 밀르된데 자치 뭐 임바데 시고래스디 그래서 곰자니다고 망보지 곰 저는 망보지 삶 니말 망불리고래 아단데와 망보요래 뭐네게 먼저 밀르된스니데 자치 뭐 임바 밀르된데 전단된 바 임바 밀르된데나라 전다 망보 치투고요 디 촐라 당주 메바 도저 곰자고 도스라디 곰망보 자고 도스디
Making this life meaningful in terms of thinking on the kindness of others and how to benefit them. A lot of you have the conditions and have the opportunity to do that. You know, you're in a good situation. Some of you have studied, you've come to meet things such as Buddha Dharma. and you have that good interaction with your families and society. And in that interaction, it's good to know that, you know, you are relating with parents, siblings, friends. But what's very important here is that we are able to recognize what is the mental suffering people go through and what is the source of it. If you can't recognize it, how can you remove it? In some cases, when people face bad conditions, they recourse to suicide, taking their own life. We even know from this context some people that have done that. Here, it is because they not being able to recognize being human, and within the context of being human, how to make it meaningful with things such as, it's good to meditate on that, to study and connect. Because if you can do that, then you'll realize that being a human is very precious and of value. And you won't want to waste it.
Oh yeah, that is it.
Yeah, this.
Oh, that the Taregi, Jundadina, the me Ludendi, Tachimo Yimbatan, and Ludendina, Tandandema, Susu Meze, the Tandandema, Kandechigodo. This is a Tagodi, Media, Susu Dewaka, the Susu Lacadinchimo Hazeredo. What is all that some Dangres?
So in the context of this week, as we go through, it's good to reflect how being human is precious. Secondly, in terms of who you're connecting with, you know, those people surrounding you, how they've been kind to you.
The Lojon Sige, Pejadi, Monzudele, your Gobi Chinan, Joranzo Tajagan, Indonesian, the your Gobi, the my Gobi job, and the bottom's job raw. You know, can't do it in your Sarah Lotion, I wear it. Take Gele, CJ Gele Yoma, and you usually Yoma.
So, for those of you, you know, like we have these texts, these verses on training the mind, and those of you listening online have access to those copies. And here at the centre we have them. If you wish to, you can copy them and take them. It is good to recite them daily. It's only 8 verses.
That Dinala Chazan do there, Sama doing what
Really, like all of Dharma is condensed in just these 8.
What do Cheta and so me Mizidinalaya, only Kasore, and so Kugapta Shiva Yora, Kugab Yore, Javachak Yore, and Mila Mixegi, Chura de Namji, Sherab Yorwa, Sherab you do, and it's around those Suzu, Chick Pejaloya, like Kawayunani, and it been there tape, Gong we go down, Chick Mizu, Ningbo, Samba Sambo Cheta, Chamba, and Zawa, Nambeshunga to the Bay, Chanjuk Simda, Ninji come down to the Bemesi. Tadanda Lojon, the Manja, Ninji, Simjil, Ninji Gedanda, Chanjuk Sim, Chamba come down, Tendijan Yare. On the day, Susu Bijaloya Gawin and law, and the man and Yanchi, Demudala Gawin, and you took the Zunala, for teaching the Mangwani or Lojon go to the Nye, Chanju Nye, Taco, Harina, Diamond Chedor, and catches some of them, so some of that Kajimure. There's shit about the summer down and summer down. So, Gange the Yunguru, Gange Yunguru, Cover the Nala de Shinjela, Gange Yunguru, Gange the Dugum and Dudana, and now we Tarba la Shegada, the Basin Sherda. Tarba Matum Sava, Yungure, Yangi, Dugi, do swear it, that and that Tashi Yomare. Roya.
Now, in that context of the circumstance of being human, we have intelligence and wisdom with which to connect with others, use the discriminating intelligence in terms of study, reading. Most of the reading here in the context of the text is to do with kind-heartedness, cultivating loving kindness, great compassion. And in the context of Buddha Dharma, this is what mind training is concerned with, the cultivation of compassion, loving kindness. So, for those that like to study, you can read about these things. For those that like to watch videos, they're on YouTube. You know how to train the mind. But most important of those two is how you reflect on the meaning. How you reflect on the meaning. Because it's the case that as humans, within the constraints of samsara, the cycle of existence, until the state of liberation is reached, dissatisfaction and sufferings will come, even though we don't want them. That's just the nature of it. Until, up to and including liberation. That's what we have to experience. It's good to know that.
And 미망고 투스라 둥이 코나 닝기미스. 아니 시워서 닝기미. 둥이 닝기미. 미다와 닝기미스라. 티티티 가 닝기미. 가 되어메스라. 되어메도 닝기메라 요 말에 고 용그래. 고 요이 말아.
A lot of me say to me, "Oh, Geshela, I don't want to hear about suffering. I don't want to hear about impermanence. I want to hear about death." Whether they want to hear about it or not, it will come.
전에 때문에 레디 동네 지역이 그 계좌구나 닝기요 말에 전 빼미시 깔래도 디릭들.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't even want to listen to things like that, then the context of your life is quite difficult, right?
그 뭐에 내주나라 개가 나지셔야지 미나라 개워서도 나와 용거래 나와도 개와 용거래로 개와 용도 니머지 시버대 용거래다고.
It's the nature of things in human life that there is birth, aging, sickness, death. Once you are born, the aging process begins. As a result of that, you get sick, and then finally, you die.
다 기시디 되면은 아니 원에 다좀 치다 좀 풍부 좀다 세고다 가르쳐 버려서는 레뇨 치외요 말에 나요 말에 되니 내용이 깨워돼요 말에 깨우면은 나요 말 나면은 깨우면은 치워요 말와 아니 사제기 간도 감세라고 하나 된 거예요 말와 간도 내 나도 망고지 칼라사다 만드는 용구도 수부들라 저랑도 망고지 어디 칼라데 네 불라그라 네 부인의 트레머들에서 수불레로 가자 지지 와르미지의 벨 지지 라이트 망고 라이도다 가리내면은 상마 디 류딘디 샤르드제 류딘디레 사베시고 다가나레 되레 이나데 낭베슌라 디레 제 탑신직 시기오라 두시 좀 쓰디로 치외 두 치다데 류좀이야 제가 다좀 쓰기도 다좀 가르좀 버려서나 아니 치워 좀 버려 나와 좀 버려 깨워 좀 버려 레뇽다 레뇽이 깨가나지 디제 좀 서르다
So in the context of birth, aging, sickness and death, if you don't wish to experience that process of dissatisfaction, strive to become an arhat, here, foe destroyer. A foe destroyer, destroy what? Be victorious over the afflicted states of mind, so that you are not subject to death, uncontrolled death and rebirth. And then, because of that, you won't be dependent on this gross level of houses and body. You won't have to eat and get sick, and therefore, because of that, you will not have to be born and die. Here, for us, being on the grosser level of existence, we have to preserve our bodies so that we get the right balance of like these immune things in our bodies. We have a body that is appropriated of flesh in the context of Buddha Dharma due to disturbing emotions, afflictions, but also Drachomba, foe destroyer, means to have a countermeasure to these maras, dushi, jom. Literally to destroy the foe of the mara, which is like there's a mara of death, one of sickness, one of birth. In short, our births are a result of karma and afflicted mental states. They are to be gotten rid of.
지난 뒤시대 때와 풍부도 치다가도 아니 녀몽배도 라이브도 쓰와.
Yeah, so those four maras are the mara of aggregates, you know, the physical body and so forth, the mara of death, the mara of invalid mental states, and then like a mara of distractions.
지난 다도서 알아서 디야 뭐니줄라 열다 디게 상말로 알아서 와.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reality that we are at their behest.
그래서 생게 내자의 시험인데 먼저 치원의 신기도 녀몬이도 와온더라.
Yeah, you know, think about it, getting sick, but also when we are born, there are invalid states of mind we have.
아니 치원이도 와. 아니 나 하이브도 있어야 되다. 내한테 다니 지나면 나를 때서야 와.
Right, so looking at these maras, like the mara of birth, there's like the mara of death, and you know, there's ways of looking at this.
다 제상하면서 뭐wen이 주시인데 뭐wen이 주시데 캘린쇼라고 하더라. 지 캘린체는 아니 동해 충어요래. 다코 뭐 주다래스로 와. 말하면서 아니 메진이나 가동용 다 내주 tunjen tsama sanjile ka du yongore tunjen yagoji tsana ne yagoji yongore tunjen yagoji masande tunjen dugja tende lewe ne yang kangye ji tre yongoro ta di gyujen chodan de la dawaji yore ta gyujen chodan de rikji ne susula rawan yore gyujen yagotu yarwa rikji rawas ke yomara ta de lenga gyawanga me nangbeji gyawanga me ge legi dawaji geji shegi yore chesan di ji gyujen 말하면서 동해 두고 강에 두고 여마라 수지로 이나 곧 연구요래 이나다 야규 대화도야기 규디 아버지 신기요 맞다면서 개지슈디 세상 대화도야기 규 개지슈디 아니 참먹어야 돼 신변로 지야 돼 신하섬 지야 신초 신 제버지야 신을 하고 다야 신을 야가 다야 신기 윤된다야 어디즈링도다 유진 조지를 유진 망보여와 다 개지슈지 비칸데 원에 단에다 키라래 디미 고자 망보지를 돼.
It is good for us to reflect, well, what is reality? What is the nature of things? And those that have come to accept it have less suffering. There are those who have, you know, conditions complete to practice. They recognize that things are made up of cause and conditions, and those recognizing that conditions are complete for their practice, and to a degree they're free because of becoming familiar with these things in past lives and working with it. But then yet others are not free in that regard. So when one comes to see that everything is in terms of cause and conditions, everything, all the sufferings come about due to causes and conditions, and if it's not happening at the minute, it will come to be. That's the nature of things. So there, we have to ask, okay, so then, what's the cause of bliss? But most of the time, we're ignorant of the cause of final well-being, bliss. But really, when we think about it, the main key, the main condition for your mental welfare is cultivating concern for others, loving kindness, compassion. Cherishing others is more important than oneself. Seeing their good qualities. This is the main condition. This is why we say, like, be kind. This is the key.
If you accept the reality, right?
Yeah.
If you accept reality, and less suffering, and less anxious, less stress, less depression, less anxiety. For example, I met one old monk, 1995, and he had cancer. The doctor said, "You live long, maybe 2 weeks." And he said, "Doctor, thank you so much. This makes my practice makes more clear." He's so looks more joy, no afraid, no worry. And he said, "Oh, now I don't want to spend more money in the hospital. I want to more money send for benefit for future, my life, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, I'll do money for send for prayer for or donation some other things. Therefore, he don't want to spend in hospital. And also, I met him at that time, and he don't have extra problem in mentality. Right? Otherwise, most people heard like this. Doctor said, "You live just 2 weeks." Then they lost. What going on for me, and cry, And he's opposite, completely opposite. He accept reality, right? He's when is the exception? Don't you know that?
Well, then it's clear to see if you accept reality, suffering is less.
I'm the gave to me, Mila. Gave it to me. Taka wucha, Nimama wucha, Simde Chumare, Subu Donare.
We suffer aging, huh? Hair becomes white, wrinkles more. Why worry about that? That's just the nature. That's not a big deal.
Tando the Pego Gala Nimama wina, Pego Nima, you were the Yuchumati. Yeah, wins, the willing the Yuchumati wins.
If you have more wrinkles in the forehead, then you should think, that's fantastic. I'm one of the beings in the world that's been around longer. Wisdom. Well, and then there are some beings, some humans who die really young, isn't it? So if we look from our perspective, we haven't died yet. So reflect on it, think like that.
That is some dan de Nangbeg, Lojon, and the Labudo, the Pay War, Yomolam the Keda, Chiwalam the Keda, Dungelam the Keda, Jengelam the Keda, Condolam the Keda, that was the summer. Lojon, Nala Yungur, to the Lojon, the traditional Chitoya
Now, in the context of Buddha Dharma, there are these mind transformations, the way you reflect. There are so many methods how to take difficulties and troubles into your life, how to bear them, also sufferings, how to take things like anger, make it work for you on your path. All of those things are there, but you can't introduce them suddenly and practice them suddenly, step by step.
I mean,
I've been studying Buddha Dharma 35 years and still I'm going.
I have lots of books. Just
Here, one is studying until Buddhahood is attained, not till you die. Yeah, this life is so short, small. Some of you think, oh, this life is so difficult, but actually it's already past. If you think about the past, it's just like a dream. But of most importance, present moment, this life, how do you benefit others now?
Now,
does anyone have any question they want to ask?
Is it online?
Online, maybe? You one at the back? Yes?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask because I thought it was a silly question, but since you ended with this sentence, I was hoping you can comment and clarify. So you said, how can I benefit others? And I was going to ask you, what do you have in mind when you ask that question? because what comes to my mind is I have to go to my room and meditate, because then I don't yell at the kids. My husband is happy, and it's the best gift I can give is to sit down, watch my breathing, and then purify my mind, because otherwise I'm bitchy, grumpy, horrible person to live with.
So essentially you're asking...
To comment, like, what do you have in mind? I think he understands. You
Yeah.
understand?
No, the online people need to understand.
Yeah, so the
What-
online people, for the question is that...
What do you have in mind when you say that statement? How can I benefit others?
Okay. So the question is essentially, what do you have in mind when you say, how can I benefit others? Until so did what? Champagne lo, because it took the shin the pengur what? They,
This
they can this pain,
this later sorry.
Yeah.
This sure.
can this layers.
그 다음에 단다 저랑
키랑이 샘랑랑 감,
컨디션.
섬소리 can this shop.
제 다라래 셴빌라디 내단 담을 여러 베나 저랑기 단다 곰제제 카가 돼야 되게 저랑기 저거다 보고 상말로 팽기도
Oh yeah.
다가라 저랑 카가 되어 돼 펜버려 인지민지 시변을 펜도 제스데 아제 계제시 인텐션을 떼고요 말이지 저랑기 카가 되어 돼 콘솔을 펜에 가서나 저랑 카가 맞대나 저랑 직 독자라야로다 컨트롤 직 지원은 콘솔데지 마데오 차기나 저랑 곰자 카가 되시는 저가 지고 보고 지어요나 펜 대신 베레 펜도레스
Yeah, there are many approaches to being able to benefit others. So, for example, what you mentioned of just being quiet and meditating in the room is good, because instead of talking all sorts of things and recoursing to the opposite of being quiet, that you might have had harsh speech with the kids or not got on with your husband. In that case, meditating in your room is a type of benefiting other.
와, 이제 저랑이 이제 짜증 지고라 에너지를
And then you're charging your battery, you're charging your mind also.
네. 아니 세상 뭐 단다 딜라야디 아니 밀어 편도지에서 돼. 수수 구급세야 돼. 담을 열어.
Yeah.
미수수 내단담 배는 아이나다 저런저런 게 로좀 장샤버디 삼만남다 돈에 바 셰야디 편도레. 저런지 단다 계절 년버디 양알 편도거래. 저런지 된 인가 뭐 있는데 알 내가 요말이야. 뒤에 편도레 돼.
So, you know, for me, you know, in terms of what I think, you know, it is the opportunity that I have with good motivation through my studies to help you. And if you didn't come here, if you didn't show up, I wouldn't have a job.
저는 연마대 알 편들. You
Yeah, so
coming here
your listening benefits me.
benefit me. If you have motivation, I want to go listening for benefit for Geshela. This is good motivation. no good for me. You have more.
Yes, about the same topic, there was a deeper layer to the question. What came to mind during your talk is the Buddha became enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the greatest gift he was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so during the talk, I was trying to see, well, I was a little bit trying to contemplate the balance between, in a lifetime, people going in seclusion to meditate
Ale. Yep.
and serving, being kind, being in the world. You know, there's many monks that go,
Yeah.
yeah.
So your question is how to strike that balance between isolation and serving other, is it?
Yes, and the question will be for everybody listening, because everyone would have a different
Yeah,
balance.
yeah,
How would
yeah.
they know? Yeah, because also being in seclusion, yeah. Like
So I'll just repeat the question. There was a deeper inference from the previous question, and is that Lord Buddha attained enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. In that context, how does one balance going away to meditate in seclusion versus serving in the world, for example, as some monks would? Is that the question?
Yeah, Yeah, like.
Is that a
no,
question?
not- Yes.
Yeah.
달라서.
Then Tina xin krangi tiwa nyama di ola chiktua just ding
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 sawa.
sawarati.
음.
이 상기 참는데 심신 잠시에 믹닉 상기 거건 줍 사버 봐.
네.
그 당신 챔피언스 디 balance 인지민지 거라 찬용.
네.
저책라 리처를 줘
음.
네엠바
음.
공자
음.
디 당신 심신피
음.
양디 촉 니버디 수수라 serve sentient beings 카요라요
네.
펜
네.
짐바탕
네. 제대로.
디
디레.
찬용디
그래, 나 배나 심진신라 편도지에라 당고 수수 셈바데 시발 흘러 걸어와. 제가 디체니 타워도서 리간라야 수수지고라 수수 셈도 장마서 열어와. 수수로 도과된데지 도과제스는 아니 신디 밀 하러 오체나 편도 차여와. 매 릴레 대야 권한에 마음바 말하려야 셈바 직 셈바 시와 차바당 생군냠녀여와당 심로 도과제바당 도서 중나는 게 심진신라 봐. 문에 편도인 상담되고 릴 카가 대야 권한게 대 칼라 사회 권한 미신기 지구는 요거서는 미신지 체도 차로고 여러 가지 구는 진짜 매제 권한 심진신이 그 당시라 파되는데 권한 리간 지고 되더라고 내가 뺏자 미위 첨부 시제 내가 지고라 배로 제가 이제 다다 로디게 요래
Really, to benefit other beings, first you have to subdue your mind, pacify your mind, and with that in mind, attain to the state of liberation, where you've cleansed your mind and cultivated the mind's potential to its fullest. So, in that sense, one does those isolated retreats to pacify the mind and get insights. And so, although it looks from one angle as if that meditator is just being quiet and not doing anything, but in reality, if their motivation is to pacify their mind so that they become liberated, even their act of eating and so forth in retreat becomes of great benefit to all beings. So it looks like they're in retreat being quiet, but actually their job is vast. So what?
그 랭겐 첨부 시켜야
They are
미위 첨부
carrying
시켜야
a huge responsibility.
수지고만 하면 심지 망보지.
They are not just meditating for themselves. They are motivations for all sentient beings.
배나 저랑 상담으로 말하는 게 셈바디 야구지 영화다 시바 영화 시디 곰 추주 니만이 있으면 참돼 곰대 근데 제일 가려운 것은 시오지게 편도 영 말해 내 능미들이 야구 영화다 말하는 그 도부 도모도 직 편도 해야지 등에 셈데 시바 야구지 속에 있는 삼제 군론지 갑제 곰지 갑이나 저런 곰데 누워 차차한 거래 편도 차요 거래 제매 마 되는데로 어디 겨와디요다.
The difference is like if you enter into a short retreat, 2 or 3 days, thinking that just in this context of short retreat, I will pacify and make my mind peaceful just for oneself, and that's your motivation. Secondly, if you enter into the same retreat, and you think of not just benefiting yourself, but in order to help your family and friends, you will enter into retreat and pacify your mind. The second circumstance has way much more potency than the former.
어디 겨와디.
That's one should think.
대모도 칼라스 뒤로.
Yeah,
수수지고 칼라스 미직지고 칼라스 손이 두면도
yeah.
미신다로 미니 있으면 칼라스나 칼라스야 돼. 아니 직 수수 누벌레기도 파워를 내용도 디레 다 셴뱅 셈데라 믹스에게 편도 전부여라. 칼라스 뒤에 있는 다가라래. 다디 미디 칼라스에서 그던 앞에 녀없어서 세대나 근데 저에마다 미신 칼라 이 신부지 영화다. 강에 어딘가는 편도 영화야. 콘서 수부 편도 영화야. 칼라 신부 영화야. 수부로 만회야지. 약보지 석인 삼제 꾸노 된지 기술자위는 다른 신비로 하고 봐.
It is the same when we set out to make food. If one is making a dish just for oneself, you might not put much effort, but if you're making for 2 to 3 people, you think, oh, I would like to make this dish taste good and be delicious for those people. So just the way you make that meal, if you talk about the altruistic approach, it benefits in that regard.
어야 다 대샤로 단데 본다. 그래서 나는 발레 타네 다제시 니마고 콘다 드링에 만두고 가르치도 직체 아니게 디고 가르치도 다 산이나에 냠메지디 드링레 하가지 야고지게 더 지기 아니 드링기 사베 계획자와디에디 양오면은 야고지기 어두시에 건다 냐갈아버들라요 삼로 곰조조데나 디그레야 마니마고 콘라 삼마든디스타나나 야고여라.
Tonight when you go home, as you approach sleep, one can do a reflection meditation. Were there any mistakes made during the day where you harmed others? Try and be aware of them and make the resolve not to recommit next day, regret. And then secondly, were there any good things you did that helped others on the way? Rejoice in them. Tomorrow make the resolve to do better. And the virtues accrued you dedicate to the goal of enlightenment. Here, one can do this as a formal sitting meditation or just as you lay down to sleep.
어디체 당한저 내 직시가시 견한저니 저 정말 개와 사요로와 단다디 온라인이 요래 가시 먼저 개와디 양오면은 양고치니로 먼저 사베 개와 자와디 잠불린 시디요야 하고르데 또 잠불린은 모두 담만다 쉬지도 와라 모두 참마 시와요 참마 믹셀 하고르데 다 political leader도 저 콘소스템나라 미디둘라 삼다니 시고도 오늘 콘소스템나라 미다둘라 삼다면은 잠불린 치와 미다고 레차레 콘소 톡스나나다 먼저 자자르다 제가 먼저 치워매다고 콘솔라고 열다 제가 콘솔 셈나라지 심진기 디두 상다야 참바단 자와든데 레토이나 아니 잠블링시도 용사로 다단다 politics 가드다 디자 비즈니스다 디저 미드제 잠블링 상마 투두 당도 알아 콘솔게 셈나라 아니 지 심뱅게 셈다 지 마음바 미럽 제마도서 야고 용야다 된데로 상노다 야 중부이나 먼저 야고도가 제단디인데 대단한 잠블링라 미 편도진이 미 된다 자우무체레 라마든데 출루신다게 근데 요르와 두조파 직 세도서 주름 무대야 아니 미두가도 그 셈바주어도 셈바상무차야 근데 차비나 아니 가서 잠블링디 나라 미모무지 강에서야 근데 영어 쇼섬 영어면은 지쇼스랑에 치카시 뭐왜 치카시 스테로.
Now, at this gathering, we have created some virtues. I have spoken some things, you have listened. People online have listened. Those virtues we've accrued, we dedicate to world peace, that there be no war in this world, that the war be pacified, particularly in the minds of the leaders, politicians and so forth, who just have an intention to harm others. And really, if you think about death and impermanence, our living on this planet is kind of in their hand in that sense. You know, if they decide to do something drastic. So therefore, one should think, may they also cultivate loving kindness and great compassion in their hearts and their minds, with an eye to world peace. And the politicians and business people have the potential to shake up the world, so may they also recourse to world peace. And then on the other hand, there are those leaders in the world who are cultivating, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama, loving kindness and great compassion. May they live long in order to preserve and foster and spread those teachings on kindness. So I will say a few verses in that regard in terms of dedication. Please think likewise.
Yeah, question to sub online.
Question?
Question from Dana. She says, Geshela, while working to follow the Dharma, how do you most effectively deal with a confrontational family member? No amount of compassion, patience seems to make any difference.
So the question was, in working in context with Dharma, practicing Dharma, how do you deal with a confrontational family member? No amount of patience?
Patience, compassion seems to make any difference.
no amount of patience or compassion seems to make any difference. Geshela, chö la jesu jara, chö kayola, because it took nyamsulem run. Tile tene yenang nang michik mituncho, nang michik nervadash, right? Difficult. Nang michik nervina, because it took ningje gom, zipper gom, tragan do.
Ping do so.
Gotcha.
어레 단단데 chance 가시 주주 책을 도고야 된대나 chance 도시는 디그레와.
So those that are short of time and have to go at 11:30, you're welcome to go now. You don't have to stay.
응에디 렌드를 잡셔와.
And I'll answer this in a relaxed manner.
그래서 낭미 나라 다처 냠레체네 낭미 나라 강에 미두자로 미두자던데 요체.
Yep.
안델라야지 닝제단 서버가서 공부이네 팽미도세. 다 가르치고 그래서 그러.
Yep, did it.
알아요.
That's the question. Geshela just clarified it.
어야, 다 디디려와. 다나래 다 먼저 누가다 야가서 돼. 저의 연결이 싱글이로 비스 빈자다. 빈자당 뭐심바다 도 저와차도 미디 누가 임바다 야가 임바다 시행고래. 아니 교연디 남사 통용 거래. 아니 낭미 하와도 낭미나라 낭미 강에 되니 망고 요인자 아니 닝지 곰나에 마베 소보 곰나에 바베 랍제 존나에 마베나 어디 딜라 심데마지 세르와 심데마지 수중원에 수수 셈바직 시와당 니직 직패 자와당 학생 남다 돈에 밀 편도시기 편도시에 누워도나 편도시에 누우면도나 당고 수수게 네 셈바데 직 장마당 야고당 누워된바지 서베이나 직전에 콘저게 저는 example로 야고지 통제 저든데 리그레와 수수 빼야고 직 능민을 빼야고 땡도비나 디 배전 편도 차요 그래서 왔는데 마셔비시 수수 냠랭가라 믹스걸 아니 수수 뭐네 지 낭미드서 어다 등에디 낭미디 주어져서 저랑 가르치니 저랑 요마다 대구면들라는 아니 신등아 공제가 요다 저이 공제고요레스 참바 공고요레 자와 공고요레 공단된데데레 수 티워티인데 아니 라야 그래 어디 여러 디 콘라 수수 직 아니 내단도서 시바당 대신 수수 삼바 시와당 참바당 자와 학생 남다게 자와 그와 unconditioned 자와저로 딘데테 투버쳐보라.
That's true, isn't it? In the context of being in a family, sometimes we see those suffering situations in cultivating great compassion and love and kindness. In terms of, because we are directly connected to beings in a family situation, we see their faults easily. We see the faults so easily because we're living with them. Here, if it appears like great compassion and loving kindness, patience is not benefiting them at the moment, not to worry. Not to worry. What's more important at this juncture is that you yourself cultivate your mental peace, your loving kindness, your laksam, your kind of responsibility to take the difficulties. And to the best of your ability and potency, you do what you can. That you can't be more beneficial, you should certainly not worry. But if you try to be an example in that family of the person that is living or practicing those things, then over time there might be a case where they come to see that you were not like you were before. And then those family members that are difficult might come to say, why has there been this change in you? Then there's an opening perhaps to share the benefits of meditation, loving kindness, and so forth.
네. 이제 지난 수수 셈라야 이제 공기 냠랭게 내제인데 유나 되게 또게 펜 밀라 펜토거다라.
Yeah, so here what really benefits others in this context are the insights you get from your meditational experience.
개치주디다 낭민을라 빼빼되냐고 스텐트나 안디 제월라 수수야고서 단 낭배 다나래 밀파 디치 디마치 라비아요 말아 수수 야고 체나니 미 어다 미디 메지 기부도 나 된데지 그것도 지난 가는 거 안디디 안 게지시에 그 야고 여러 안디디 펜토라 어디르다
Yeah, just as it is in the family, trying to kind of be a good example or walk the talk. It's the same in the context of Buddha Dharma. In the context of Buddha Dharma, we don't say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Not at all. The first thing is to be an example and do it yourself. And then perhaps, by your example of being a good person, they will think, or they will want to know, why are you so content and happy? They will.
Oh yeah, that 디샤오라
Yeah, we'll stop now.
angé di tsik dong tangi gyalé ngó mélam chi shuwa mélam gyáwa sé mélam da ngó di nuba chenpo yó re sirwa ngá zé chi zan di da shenbén chi ya nuba kukab chik rwa da di zé ké chenpo re sirwa
When one dedicates with prayer, it is very potent. So the dedication or the ending of the event, those virtues, is important.
gyáwa di nyundu da lama sanje zhuwa chi je ma nuba di sala go re sonam di damche zikpa yin kumbang tuje kin yin zha di ne kada nana chibe la sibe tsole zhuwa zhuwa re chanchu simcho rinpo je ma je pa na ji yu chi gyáwa nyamba me wa yin kone kone pe wa re Ay, that is it.
At least a bit too soon. Lunchtime? Oh yeah.